Hello, my name is Tim Erickson. I'm here with Simplo by Triplo, and today I'm here to talk about an exciting new a contrib module for Backdrop CMS called Devel Subthemer. This module was just released today, just appeared on the scene about a week ago. Some folks have been providing feedback and testing for the last few days, and this is something that Doc Wilmot has produced, another amazing Doc Wilmot production. Doc Wilmot has done a lot of really valuable work in the backdrop community. You can download Devel Subthemer from backdropcms.org as of today. It is an alpha version, which that usually just means that you should be careful of it. And that in an alpha version, oftentimes, as bugs are fixed, it could break the API or break existing things you've done with the site. However, I would point out that the Devel Subthemer is a module that you sort of use. It creates something, and upgrading in the future isn't going to affect what it created. So there's no real harm in trying it out and using it to create a subtheme. If you find any bugs, report them. Apparently, as I said, this was developed by Doc Wilmot, apparently based on some code from the Coder module, which had been developed by Jim Barry. In the open source world, there's lots of credit to go around for any new project like this. What the Devel Subthemer module does is create a quick subtheme for you. This is a big deal for a lot of beginners who really kind of struggle the first time they create a subtheme. And basically, what is a subtheme and why do you need one? Well, if you want to create your own custom CSS for your site, you can start by building an entirely new theme, but most people, what they do is they create a subtheme. And what a subtheme does is it allows you to inherit a bunch of the resources in CSS from a parent theme, and then just add your own work on top of it. Now, unfortunately, what some beginners do is they just go in and will start hacking or editing the CSS from an existing theme. And well, you certainly can do that, and it will work. The problem is that you can never then upgrade the subtheme that you've hacked or changed without overriding your existing CSS. And it's just a little bit dangerous, and there's an easy way to avoid that problem, which is to create a subtheme. On backdropcms.org, we have this great article on how to build a subtheme of Basis. Again, Basis is the default theme in Backdrop when you install it and load it. A lot of people, I think, are creating subthemes of Basis, although you can subtheme any theme in Backdrop. But a lot of people subtheme Basis. And Wes, the creator of Basis, did this great article, blog post that you can find on backdropcms.org that talks about subtheming Basis. And it goes through it in deep steps. And some of these steps are still going to be relevant, even if you use the subthemer module. But a lot of what Wes talks about in terms of getting started will just get done for you automatically with the Subthemer module. So let's go ahead and take a look. I have a website I called Subthemer that I just set up on my local laptop. The only thing I've done to this new website is add 2 themes to it that were not here by default. I haven't enabled them yet. So if we go under Appearance and we list themes, we're going to see Basis is the default theme. That's what came with Core. Oh, and you'll see this .dev stuff just means that I'm using the dev branch or a development version of Backdrop. So it's not significantly different than the version you're going to be using, but you would probably see 1.21. You wouldn't see this dev stuff here. Basically, the 2 themes I've added are Bootstrap Lite and Snazzy. I picked these 2 fairly at random, and the idea is that we can create a subtheme of one of both of them. And you'll notice there's no sort of subtheme option here, and I'm going to point that out because it's one of the things that the module is going to do for us. So you can download and install the module like any other module. I've already downloaded it, I just haven't installed it. So I'm going to go ahead and install it now. There we go, it's installed. There's some configuration, although the configuration is all the actual work that it does. This is creating the particular subtheme. So the configuration page is really the page where you do the main thing in the module, which is create a subtheme. Now, before we do that, I'm going to show you that there's another way you can get to this, which is you can go under Appearance. If you go back to List Themes, you're going to see that now there's a new link called Create Subtheme next to all of the existing modules, whether enabled or not enabled. So we have a choice. If under Snazzy I click Create Subtheme, it gives me the options here to create a subtheme from Snazzy. And I can basically walk through this process. It's not very long, it's not very hard. Or I could go under the configuration and go to development and go to create subtheme. And in this, the only difference here is it's saying create a subtheme, but it doesn't know which one you want to create it for. So the difference here is that I haven't picked which theme I'm going to subtheme yet. So I use this field, and you'll see, if say, for example, I switch to Snazzy, these setting options change based on the specifics of Snazzy. If I switch to Bootstrap Lite, those options all change. So again, you can go directly, if you create a subtheme from the appearance page of any particular submodule, it just won't give you this option because you've already picked your subtheme. If you come to this page directly through the development menu, then you'll have to just indicate which theme you want to subtheme. So I'm going to go ahead and create the most common use case would be a subtheme of basis. But again, you can create a subtheme of anything. So let's call this my basis. And so my subtheme's name will be my basis. The base theme is going to be basis. These are some things that I can copy over into my subtheme from the original theme. And the color module is, if you're not familiar with that, it's a way through the theme settings that you can change the colors in your theme. And I would recommend, I think, that you go ahead and copy that over if you're subtheming basis. This option will only be there if the parent theme uses the color module. So in this case, basis does. I'm going to recommend we keep these. The copy theme settings or the copy blank template PHP, these are both for a little bit more advanced theming. If you're going to be adding a little bit of PHP to your subtheme, you may want to go ahead and copy these right away. However, you certainly can copy them later if you need to. There's also the option, these are the templates that basis already overrides from Backdrop Core. And if you would like to further override these, if you know in advance that you're going to be overriding any of these, you can go ahead and click them, and the Subthemer module will add them to your new subtheme. If you don't choose to move them now, and you decide to later, it's no problem. You can just go copy and paste them from the parent theme into your subtheme. But basically, any template file that you put into your subtheme will override the theme and the template file in the parent theme. So if you want to change the layout or the markup in your header or your comments, go ahead and copy them over now. I'm going to go ahead and copy all of them. It doesn't hurt to copy them even if you don't do anything, because sure, if you copy them over, they're going to override the parent theme, but they're going to be the same as the parent theme. So there's no real downside to that. The next thing is if you want to add certain new CSS files, you can go ahead and do that now. The Subthemer module automatically creates a new custom CSS file and puts it into your subtheme. And the assumption is that you're going to inherit everything else, and then you're going to create this new custom CSS where you put any of your own overrides. Now, if you're doing a really major subtheme, you might want to have more of your own CSS files, or you might want to actually override some of the parent theme CSS files. But if those things don't make any sense to you, then just don't worry about them and just start with the default here, which is a new custom CSS. Add script paths would be, again, if you wanted to add some JavaScript files. So sort of a common thing to do would be this. Create a directory in your new subtheme called JS. And then I think usually what we do is this, scripts.js, create a new file. And this is where you could dump your custom JavaScript. However, if you're not planning to do that, don't worry about it. We're not going to be doing that today, so I'm going to leave it. So basically, we filled this form out now. I'm going to go ahead and create Subtheme. It says my basis was created successfully. Well, how do we know? Well, first of all, we're going to actually take a peek at the file system, and we can see this is the themes directory in my sample site here on my laptop. And we'll notice that Bootstrap and Snazzy were here before, and now we have My Basis. My Basis is my new theme. It comes with the color module. You'll remember we asked to import that. It comes with a CSS directory with an empty CSS file. Now, I'm just noticing a little bug here. I don't think this was here before. It went and added an extra .css. So I'm going to report this bug, and we'll get that fixed probably before you get a chance to use this module. But we only need the one .css. We don't need two of those. I don't actually think this is going to hurt. Well, we'll look in a second and see. Then we've got the .info file, which is the most important thing in any theme. This is what makes a theme a theme. And we'll look at the inside of that in a second. And then we have a templates directory, which has those templates that we chose to copy over. Okay, I'm going to quickly switch to my text editor. I use Sublime Text. This is a free open source text editor that is great for this kind of theming. Basically, I'm just using that to go into My Basis. And we looked at the inside before. We're going to look at what a subtheme, the .info file for the subtheme. We're going to notice it's pretty simple and straightforward. These are the settings you need. There is some good documentation on backdropcms.org about the .info file for themes or subthemes if you want to do more research. But if you're just planning to add some CSS, this is all you need. If you add any additional CSS files beyond the custom one we created, you'll want to fix that here. Now, I'm pretty sure that even though this CSS file is misnamed, I think it's going to work just fine as long as it's named the same here as it is in the CSS directory, which it is. However, we do have an extra .css here that we just don't need and we should get rid of. But let's say I decided to add another custom CSS file, and I wanted to call that one Subthemer.css. Okay, I would add that to the CSS directory, and then I would come here and create another entry for this new subtheme or this new CSS file with a path to it. So it's in the CSS directory, Subthemer.css. There we go. So now if we created that, the theme would recognize and pull in that CSS into my site. Okay, so we're going to go back to our site now. And the next thing we would do if we're creating our the basics of a subtheme is we'd go here to the list the themes. We're going to see Basis is still listed as the default theme. And we're going to go down and we find there's My Basis. Now, before we can use My Basis, we have to both enable it and then make it the default theme. So I'm going to do both at once. I'm going to click on the enable and set default. Now My Basis is the default theme. Now nothing will have changed yet. If I go to my site's going to look exactly the same because it's inheriting everything from the parent theme right now, everything from Basis. But let's say I want to make some changes, and we're going to do one or two really simple things. Like I'd like to do simple things like change the color of the text in paragraph tags, because that's easily noticeable and you'll see it anywhere. So if we go back now to our text editor and we go into our custom theme, I'm actually going to not save this change because I didn't create that extra file. But if we go into that custom CSS file that we just set up, and I'm not going to teach you about how to write CSS today. Hopefully you understand a little bit about that. But basically, if I create a rule for paragraphs that says make all text inside paragraph tags red, and I save that, and we go back to our site now, and we probably have to flush our caches because the CSS was cached, so I had to flush the cache. Always flush the cache if you think something should happen and it didn't. So there you go. Now we've got the means to start adding our own custom CSS, which is going to override the default. And now we can go ahead and put anything we want into this custom CSS file. This should take precedence over and override anything in either Backdrop Core or the Basis theme. Now, if you wanted to create a subtheme of a different theme, you'd have to create that separate. This is specific to Basis. So if, for example, we wanted to subtheme Snazzy, we'd have to create a new subtheme for, like, we could call that My Snazzy. So I think for the purposes of today's video that we don't really need to go any further. Hopefully, again, you know how to write CSS and you can start to really doing all the custom changes you want to your site. I can tell you from experience that this has just made the learning curve and the steps to creating your first subtheme much easier. There's a lot of nuances in creating a subtheme and things that you still need to learn that are not really helped by this particular module. But go ahead and experiment with it and just start building a subtheme. And as you run into problems, you can learn more about subtheming. Please use the comment section of this video to ask additional questions about subtheming, or visit us at simplo.site and leave your questions there. And we'll either try to answer you personally or create another video to answer some of the more detailed questions you might have. That's all for today. See you in the next video.